and welcome to the first episode of Coach's Corner. Coach's Corner is a new show where I sit down with coaches I've trained with and I get to learn more about them. Tonight's episode guest is Adam Godwin. Adam has been training me since 2015. With his Adam Godwin Soccer Academy in Lynchburg, Virginia, I credit my footwork skills and my leadership skills because of the skills Coach Adam has taught me. Coach Adam has always been a big influence in not only my soccer, but also as someone I look up to. Adam Godwin is the head soccer coach for Randolph College men's team. Coach Adam, thank you so much for being my first guest on Coach's Corner and also being my first guest in the studio. Coach Adam, how are you doing?
I'm good, Brady. Thank you so much for having me. Honored to be here and excited to chat a little bit.
All right, let's get it. What does soccer mean to you?
Do you know, soccer means everything to me, to be honest. It's driven, I'm 38, I know I don't look it, but I'm 38 and it's genuinely driven the last 28 years of my life. I was a bit of a late starter in soccer, certainly in England. I didn't really start playing until I was 10, but it was, I fell in love with the game immediately. I remember I went to my first ever professional soccer game in England when I was 10 years old with my dad and my brothers, and I've been kicking a soccer ball ever since, basically. So yeah, the game means everything to me. I love it, I'm passionate about it, and I've probably been kicking a soccer ball every day for 28 years, and hopefully I'll be kicking one for another 28 years. But yeah, I just love the game and thankful for everything that it's given to me.
Nice. So when you said you saw your first professional game, what teams were they?
It was Aston Villa against Arsenal. I'm an Aston Villa fan, my whole family is, and so yeah, it was like 1993, and it was a cold Tuesday night, right around this time of year actually, and yeah, Aston Villa won 1-0, and it was just, I'd never seen anything like it. You know, I was a young 10-year-old and my dad took me, and there's just 40, 50,000 people in this stadium yelling and screaming and singing the names of the players, and I was like, man, I want 40,000 people to sing my name, you know, and so I went to bed after the game, and the next morning, that was it. I just wanted to be a soccer player, and that's all I wanted to do, and it was an amazing experience. So.
For sure, that is awesome. When did you start playing soccer?
Probably the morning after that game. I really wasn't into soccer, and I don't know why. I just enjoyed other things. So I was in primary school, we call that in England, so I was 10, I was in primary school, and at recess, you'd have the group of kids that would play soccer, and then you'd have the group of kids that would do other stuff. I don't even really remember what I did, you know, but I can distinctly remember walking in that morning, walk straight past my buddies, who I normally played with, whatever we played, to the soccer bit, and I remember the soccer kids looking at me like, what's he doing over here? And that's it, I just started playing, you know, you know, so that was when I first started playing soccer. And then so probably pretty quickly, I found the local soccer team to join, but I was rubbish. I was awful. So all I could join was the worst team, you know, so that first team, we were called Lads Club Colts, and we were dreadful. Every game we would lose double digits. Our worst ever defeat was 23-0. But I don't think I cared. I was just so happy to be playing and being on a team and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of how it all started.
So when you walked up to those kids to play soccer, were you good then? I know you said you were rubbish, but were you better than some of the kids that were playing?
No, I was, again, I remember that. I don't know why you have these memories, right? But I can remember playing in the playground, we call it, playing in the playground at recess for the first time. And the ball went out for a throw-in, and this is how little I knew. I grabbed the ball and I threw it underarm into the field, and they looked at me like, what is he doing? So that's an example. Hopefully that gives you an idea of just how bad I was when I started. But yeah, you know, you work hard and you get better and you learn the game, and I was fortunate that I just loved the game so much that I didn't really care that I wasn't very good. And yeah, you just play more and more, and you get onto better teams and you improve, and thankfully I ended up being pretty good at the game. But those early days I was absolutely useless, I really was.
What was your favorite thing about playing soccer?
What a good question. I loved game day. You know, I loved playing in the matches. I loved achieving. I think achievement was really big for me. I loved the challenge of playing against good teams or playing against players that were better than me. I always enjoyed feeling like I was growing as a player, if you know what I mean. And I think something I've always enjoyed as well is the leadership that goes with that, if you know what I mean. You know, I always wanted to be the captain of my team, and things like that. So it was constantly like, okay, this is how good I am today. How good can I be tomorrow? And not in a way that I'm making it sound a bit like work. It wasn't work. I loved it. I just loved that challenge of not necessarily trying to be the best, but trying to be better than I was sort of yesterday, if you know what I mean. And yeah, even as a young kid, I had that. And then that changes from trying to be the best player in your team to trying to be the best player in the league to trying to see if you could get some professional scouts to come and watch you. It all kind of grows on top of each other, you know. I see that in your own journey, you know. You were exactly the same thing. Can I be the best player in my team, best player in the league? Can I make the ODP team? You know, there's which you, and obviously you're on that pathway, and there's something about that, you know. And maybe it's validation. I don't know, but yeah, I just love competing and love just trying to get better. That was what I really enjoyed.
Awesome. So you said you've always wanted to be captain. Did you eventually achieve that goal? Were you captain at some point?
Yeah, I think I captain every team I've ever played for. You know, and again, I'm a talker on the soccer field. I'm an organizer. I'm an encourager. The position I play I was a centre back. So when you play back there, you've got quite a good view of the field. You know what I mean? So you can organise and things like that. So I also knew if I wanted to be a high level player, I had to be a great leader and a great communicator. So that was part of that too. And probably I remember the proudest I ever was to be captain of a team was I was named the captain of my county. So we don't have states in England, we have counties, but it's sort of the same, not exactly, but sort of. And yeah, the best players in the county play for their county. And I remember my under-18 season, I was named county captain. I was really proud of that. To captain the whole county was really cool, and it was a big goal that I had, and I was really proud to achieve that. And went on to captain Liberty University and things like that. But yeah, it was just taking that responsibility was always really important to me to lead my team and lead my teammates and things like that. So
awesome, great job. What is different about playing soccer overseas than playing in the United States?
My gosh, I think overseas, you know, obviously growing up playing in England, maybe just the level of intensity, and probably what I mean by that is the encompassing level of intensity. Games in the United States are intense, you know, once you're in the game, but less people care about it. You know, in England, it's all anybody cares about. So every conversation you have in England is, well, who do you play for, and are you any good at football, and what team do you support, and you know, and dads are often asked about their kid and how's, you know, is their kid developing and who's your kid play for. So it always felt like you were on this journey and everyone was interested in the journey. Whereas over in this country, for example, there's so many sports, and that's okay, that's a good thing, but and soccer probably gets less attention, shall we say, than a baseball or a basketball or a football. So yeah, I think that's it. I think my experience of growing up playing in England was that everybody was on a little bit of a journey to become a pro player and trying to achieve that goal. I feel like maybe in the United States, there's probably half of the players you come across, they're just playing it because they enjoy it. And there's nothing wrong with that either. That's really good, and you should do that. But yeah, I always just felt like maybe a slightly different level of intensity overseas. But I think that's changed. You know, I've been here nearly 20 years now, Brady, which is kind of crazy for me. But I think I've seen the intensity rise, and now on a global stage, now you're seeing guys like Gio Reyna and Weston McKennie and all of these American players that are playing overseas in the Champions League and things like that. So I think the level is raising all the time in the United States. So
awesome. So in England, was soccer the main thing? Did you guys still have other sports? But I know soccer is the main thing in England, but was there other sports? Were those kind of popular over there too?
Yeah, soccer is by far and away the most popular sport. And then after that, rugby and cricket are probably the other two very popular sports from a team perspective. And then golf and tennis are popular as well, for sure. But soccer permeates everything in England. You know, club soccer, so, you know, Manchester United, Manchester City, all of those things. Rugby and cricket, there are club teams and professional teams within those, but what kind of captures the interest of the nation over there is when the national teams play. So if it's the England rugby national team, that's a really big deal. They won the World Cup in 2003, for example. The England national cricket team just won the World Cup 2 years ago and things like that. So those are huge moments, you know, for the nation and things like that. But probably for the other sports, it's the major interest is there when it's big events. For soccer, it's on the front page of every newspaper. It's, you know, it's everything all the time. So yeah.
So I have friends that live up in North Carolina, and they say when UNC beats Duke in basketball, they like burn couches and stuff. Is it that important when like a cricket or other sports like that? Is it sort of like that, or is it crazy? Like, or if it's different when somebody wins a championship over in England, or for soccer, or anything else?
Yeah, we don't burn a lot of couches in England. I know, you know, those North Carolinas are kind of crazy, but yeah. So for example, when England won the World Cup, and I think there was like an open bus in rugby. Sorry, there was an open bus parade, and there was like 1 million people, you know, in the streets sort of for that parade and things like that. So, you know, when England achieves, there's big celebration. Sometimes there's a little bit of violence when England fail. So typically when England national team goes out of a World Cup, sometimes the fans will spill drunkenly out of the pubs into the streets and smash up some cars or something like that, which is obviously not very pleasant, and things like that. But and then there's probably some big rivalries within club soccer, you know, and I think though the days of it being super aggressive are probably gone, you know. But yeah, when Manchester United play Manchester City, like I think they are this weekend, that'll be a big deal for those fan bases and things like that. So sometimes those things can get out of hand around the stadiums and things like that after the game. But that's just, sometimes that's passion spilling over, and then sometimes it's just idiots being idiots. And sometimes those negative things that go along with the results of games, they actually don't have anything to do with the games. It's just morons looking for an opportunity to be aggressive or whatever it is. So yeah, sometimes soccer gets wrapped up in that, but yeah, no couch burning anyway.
Cause I watched a video, when Tottenham played Arsenal, this weekend, well, last weekend, Tottenham beat Arsenal 2-0, and, Arsenal fans went to go watch the game at, like, a park, I think, and, there were, once they hit the final minute, everybody was, like, screaming and yelling at each other. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, it's passionate, and I'll say this, actually, this goes back to your other question, and I'm glad you said that, because it makes me think of it. I think that's where some of the intensity comes as well. If you go watch a game in an English stadium, for example, it doesn't have to be England, it could be Spain or Italy or Germany, the crowd is so intense in watching the game. When I go to sporting events in America, whatever it is, baseball, I've been to some MLS games, it's almost like the sporting event is secondary. People are eating popcorn, they're looking at the nice stadium, they're not really watching the game. In England, if you delay the pass, your pass is too slow, you've got 40,000 people screaming at you. I think that's why you're seeing a lot of errors in games at the moment, because there's no crowds there. So there's that intensity is not there, and that drives you as well. Whereas I watch MLS games over here, and you'll see an error on the field, but no noise from the crowd. So that player doesn't know, well, that was a big mistake. Whereas in England, literally, you might make the right pass, but if you made that pass 2 seconds late, you've got 40,000 people screaming at you because you should have played it faster. And I think it's those kind of environments which drive elite performance at those high levels. Now, I certainly never played in front of 40,000 people, but even, you know, sometimes I'd play in front of one man and his dog, and yeah, if I made a mistake, the one man and his dog are making sure I know about it. So yeah.
Cool. Like actually went to the Arsenal game. I didn't go to England to watch it. I went to a place in Charlottesville to watch it, and there was this one guy who was a Tottenham fan screaming the whole time when they made a bad pass. I was kind of getting annoyed. I wanted to just say something to him, but he was just like screaming off the top of his lungs, and it was ridiculous.
Yeah, multiply him by 40,000, and that's probably what I was going to call it, White Hart Lane, but whatever Tottenham's new stadium is called. You know, but Tottenham fans are a little bit deluded, Brady. They're not as good as they think they are, so that's okay.
At what age did you decide you wanted to make soccer a career?
Probably somewhere around. I remember a really big moment for me. Back when I was young, we didn't have the internet. We had this thing called teletext. I don't know if you guys had this over here, but on your television you could press a button, and it would sort of take you to a very early version of the internet, and you could type in like 300, and page 300 was the sports page or something like that. Anyway, I was about 14 maybe, or something, 13, 14, and on the sports page it was talking about the England under-18 national team, and it was sort of saying so-and-so has been called up to the England under-18 national team. And I remember thinking to myself, what am I doing? That was obviously a goal for me. You know, I want to play for England. Everyone wants to play for England. And I remember thinking to myself, what am I doing so that when I'm an under-18 age player, I get called up to the national team? Like, what am I doing to achieve that? And I lived in a really great city, but probably Lynchburg size. So opportunities were a little bit less, if you know what I mean, than if we lived in a Charlotte or an Atlanta, for example. And that day, I wrote a letter to every professional football team in England, asking them for a tryout. So there's 92 professional football teams in England, so I wrote 92 letters, put them in the mail. You know, there was no internet, there was no email in those days. Put them in the mail, and off they went. And one of the teams got back to me and said, "Yeah, we'll take a look at you." And it was a team called Warsaw, which was about a 2 3/4 hour drive from where I lived. But they're like, "Yeah, you can come to practice on Thursday." So I was like, "Dad, we've got to go to Warsaw on Thursday night." And my dad was brilliant. He said, "Okay, no problem." And off we went. And it was a brilliant experience. So that was kind of my first experience playing or practicing in a professional environment with Warsaw's under 13s or under 14s. I can't remember what it was. But yeah, that was probably the moment where I was like, okay, if I really want to achieve something, I've got to do something more than I'm doing right now. And so yeah, so that was it. So yeah, somewhere around 13, 14 is when I was like, okay, I'm going to really go for this thing. And yeah, and you know what, Brady, I never played a game of professional soccer, ever. I was around professional teams like Warsaw and Tottenham Hotspur, and even after I got done playing at Liberty, I was with the Atlanta Silverbacks for a little while, and had a trial with Cheltenham Town Football Club back in England. So I never actually played a game of professional soccer. I always tell people I was about as good as you could possibly be without actually being good enough to be a pro player. But if I hadn't pursued it at such a level, then I wouldn't have achieved what I achieved here. I pursued professional soccer, didn't quite get there, but I got a full scholarship to play at Liberty University, and again, that was life-changing for me as well. And if I hadn't decided to pursue something, even though I didn't quite attain it, look at what else I got, you know. And so that was always a big lesson for me too. So
awesome. When did you come to the United States?
2001 was my freshman year, and yeah, it was crazy. The world was much bigger in those days, and so what I mean by that is, I had no idea where Lynchburg, Virginia was. I couldn't even go on the internet because Google Maps didn't even exist. I had to, like, your dad might remember this, I had to get an encyclopedia on a disc and get the geography encyclopedia and put it in to the PC and type Lynchburg, Virginia to even find out where it was. Didn't even really know where Virginia was, to be honest. So yeah, I came over in 2001 and probably just planned to be here for 4 years and then go home after I graduated. But halfway through those 4 years, I met a beautiful girl, and you'll learn this, Brady, beautiful girls change your plans pretty quickly, and ended up marrying her and things like that. We've got 2 boys now, and I've been here nearly 20 years now, which I can't believe. I've lived in America over half my life now, which is nuts. But thankful to have landed in Lynchburg, Virginia, and in such a great community, and yeah, thankful for the path. I've got to meet people like you and other people. So yeah.
Thanks, that means a lot. When did you realize you wanted to become a coach, and why?
When I went to college, and I was a sports management major. And obviously my goal was to be a professional player and things like that. But with my degree, I never really intended to coach. I always thought I would maybe coach on the side, like have like a U16 boys team or something like that I would do in my spare time. But what I thought I would do is maybe work in for a pro team, like in their front office and things like that. And that's what I did when I graduated. I moved to Atlanta because that's where my girlfriend lived at the time, and I got a job working. I got a real job working for a sports hospitality company, and I did. I coached a U16 boys team for the Atlanta Fire. But then I got a phone call out of the blue from a guy called James Price, who was the head women's soccer coach at Liberty, just saying, "Hey Adam, I need an assistant coach, and always thought you'd be good at it. Would you like to come back to Liberty and do that?" And I was excited to do that. But even when I accepted that job, in my mind it was, okay, I'll come up and do this for 2 years, I'll get my master's degree, my wife had some classes she needed to finish so she could graduate, and then I'll go back on with my life. But very, very quickly, I fell in love with coaching full time. Probably specifically fell in love with college coaching. And what I fell in love with was not the X's and O's, it was not devising practice sessions. What I fell in love with was the relationships with the players, and that's probably why I, continue to coach and continue to battle through this coaching career, because it's a difficult career. It's not easy. It's not a straight line. You've got to fight to stay in it. If the only reason you were fighting to stay in it was X's and O's and practices and games, it wouldn't be worth the fight. What's worth the fight is the relationships you build and how you can help people to achieve their goals and achieve their dreams, and to kind of come alongside people and pour your energy into that, into helping people just be the best versions of themselves. That's what you fall in love with. And so I guess I decided to be a coach probably somewhere around 23 years old. And yeah, I did it because I love these relationships that I get to build, and hope it continues until I'm 80 years old.
So you said you went up to LU, and you love the relationships, and so what was the moment? So you said after about 2 years, you said you wanted to become a coach up there?
Gosh, I'm not sure I could pinpoint the exact moment, because in a lot of regards, when I went to that first practice, I didn't really know what to expect. I'm the assistant coach for Liberty University women's soccer, and just as you're coaching this team, you just get closer and closer and closer. And then what you actually discover is, gosh, the soccer part of my job is like 20% of what I do. The other 80% is about relationships. It's about helping people. And so as you go through that process, you get closer to players and you start to understand them a little bit better. And yeah, you just want to come alongside them and help them. So probably through that first season, so it was 2006, I think, was my first season. As you went through that season and you start not knowing anybody, and then by the end of it, you love these players. I mean, love them. It was probably in that transition, or in that period of time, going from you guys are strangers to I love you girls, that you realize I want to do this forever. And yeah, that's what I've been fighting to do. What are we, 2020? So for the last 14, 15 years, been fighting to do that and stay in it and things like that. So.
Awesome. Why did you start a soccer academy?
I started a soccer academy. One of the weirder, and you hear me talk about fighting to stay in coaching, one of the weirder parts of my career is in 2008, I took a job in Liberty University's football program, as in their American football program. The head coach that I had worked for in women's soccer had taken another job. They brought in a new head coach. That head coach didn't want me, which is fine. She had another coach she wanted to bring in. So I had to leave the soccer program and thought I was going to have to leave Liberty. And just very randomly, someone said, well, there's a job open in football. Why don't you go over there? So I went and interviewed and got the job. But as you can tell, I'm a skinny English person that's never played American football in my life. And that first season in football was 2008. And while I really enjoyed my job and really enjoyed being a part of the football program, and I did that for 5 years, I was going crazy because I had no soccer. And actually my window in that football building looked out onto the soccer field. So every afternoon I'm being tortured by watching the teams practice. And I'm just in this office, not coaching and doing these things. And I was genuinely going crazy, just climbing the walls. And so I thought, well, I love soccer. How can I get soccer sort of back into my life? And I was like, I'll start a little soccer academy. And really, Brady, it started with one kid, Jenna Freeman. And Jenna's probably 25, 26 years old, probably married and things like that now. But it just started with one young lady, and Jenna was a really good soccer player, really committed, a bit like yourself, and really had goals of playing high-level soccer. And then, so me and Jenna worked hard together, and then Jenna brought a friend, and then they brought another friend, and 12 years later, I've probably coached over 1,000 players in the soccer academy. Some players every week like you, some players only once, and those things are fine too. But yeah, that's why I started it. Probably selfishly, Brady, I started it for me because I needed soccer in my life. But then it also just created an outlet where I could share my passion for the game, share hopefully my expertise in coaching, and hopefully it's grown into something that's really positive in our community. You know, I think we've sent almost 30 players to play college soccer. We've developed 3 professional soccer players. We've sent 2 players to the youth national teams, which when it was just me and Jenna, I never envisioned any of that. But you know, you just work hard every day, and it grows. And yeah, again, it's not about me. I know it says the Adam Godwin Soccer Academy. I tell people all the time, the academy belongs to our community. That's who the academy belongs to. It's my job just to show up every day with my car and my trunk full of balls and cones and pennies and try to work with you guys to help you achieve your goals. So yeah.
So you said you started it just for yourself because you needed you just needed soccer back in your life. But as you've gone on, you said it's been to the community, and it's definitely like that. I feel so comfortable every time I come practice with you. It's definitely not just about you. You don't care just about yourself. You care about others very much.
Well, I appreciate that, buddy. And guys like you make it really easy, Brady. Can't wait to see you and people like you and Emerson come bouncing along. You know, it doesn't matter how busy my day has been. It kind of energizes me to make sure we have a great session together. So I appreciate you guys.
Thanks. How different is it coaching someone like me who is 10 than coaching a college soccer player?
In so many regards, there's probably more similarities than differences, because ultimately every player that I work with has to improve. And so probably my challenge is understanding the level that player is at and how do I push that player. Every player is unique. I have 33 players on my college team, for example. It's 33 unique players. I have to figure out how to help each one of them get better, and it's no different. You know, when I work with you guys now, let's use you and the college. Let's use you and my college goalkeeper as an example. Obviously, he's older and more experienced than you, so he has different skill sets. He's probably better than you just because he's older and he's more experienced. But I just have to figure out where you are on that journey and how do I help you gain skills, gain confidence. How do I inspire you, you know, so that you want to continue not coming back to me, but want to continue on your journey. You know, and so, yeah, I think there's more similarities than differences. And ultimately, to be really honest, what I could boil it down to is every player that I work with, I just want to help them love the game as much as I love it. You know, I've been kicking the ball every day for 28 years. You don't do anything for 28 years unless you love it with all your heart. And yeah, I want my college guys, when their career's done at 22, I don't want that to be their last game. You know, I want them to love the game so much that they keep finding ways to play, whether it's pro or pickup, you know. And so that's kind of where I'm at with it. If I've coached 1,000 players in my academy, only 3 of them have gone professional. That's my math is terrible, but that's about 0.03% of the kids I've worked with. So if all I care about is making players professional, I'm failing horribly, right? Only 3 out of 1,000 have made it. But it's not about that. It's those 1,000 kids. Did I inspire them? Did I motivate them? Did I help them to love the game as much as I love it? If I've achieved that and they've got better, wow, that's a bonus. But yeah, and hopefully that's when players come and work with me and my staff, hopefully that's what they feel. They feel, wow, these guys love soccer. And hopefully they get back in that car and they've got a little spring in their step and they're excited for whatever the next thing is in their journey, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I know a lot of my friends and myself who travel to other soccer clubs outside of Lynchburg. What needs to change and make Lynchburg soccer more competitive?
That's a really great question. I think, you know, it's not easy running these big clubs and you know, so I certainly don't consider myself an expert on all of the difficulties that the clubs face. You know, I think as I look at the soccer academy and as we look at maybe expanding in the last year or two, we've had a couple of teams, you know, just 1 or 2. But for me, it's how do we create a player development model where players in Lynchburg can become just as good as players in Richmond or players in Northern Virginia or players in Charlotte. Why do players have to continue to leave Lynchburg to grow? And some of those things, I'm kind of a big believer in player development. You're only ever going to probably become as good as the players you play with and the players you play against. So what I mean by that, the players you play with, if you can be terrible at practice every day and still start every game, you're probably not getting better, right? The players you play against, if you win every game 10-0, probably not getting any better. So I think those are some of the challenges maybe we have locally, that the competition level with players you play against isn't consistently high enough. And then the players you play with, you know, it's not the hugest area, right? So, but I feel like we should be able to do a better job of taking kids at 5, at 6, at 7 and helping them to develop into players that by the time they're 10, 11, 12 and they're getting into that travel soccer thing, that they're a really good soccer player, or certainly a more competent soccer player than we're currently producing locally. So now I don't have, let's say, the magic answer. If I did, I'd be a millionaire, right? You know, so, but it's something I'm thinking about and something I'd like to try to help our area develop, because we have brilliant soccer players around here. How do we create a system, if that's the right word, that just helps produce more players and brings the best out of more players? So, and yeah, some sort of player development model is I think the way forward, and something I've been thinking about a lot lately. And hopefully we can, within our academy, hopefully something we can help to produce, to help the local clubs and help the local soccer community. Yeah, just produce more quality soccer players who enjoy the game and love the game and things like that.
Yeah. Someone like me who wants to be a professional soccer player, what advice would you give them?
You know, I think sometimes when young players ask that, what they want is a sort of a step-by-step guide to become a professional player. It's like, coach, tell me A, B, and C, and I'll go do it. And so it doesn't work that way. And sometimes I think a lot of it is just, you just have to keep going. You just have to keep finding ways to raise your bar. You just have to continue loving the game. And in some regards, you almost just have to be the last man standing. You know, don't quit on it. keep doing it longer than anybody else will do it. And you'll see this. I say this often in my soccer academy. The biggest age group we have is middle school boys. It's huge. We have loads of middle school boys. The smallest age group we have, high school boys. So what happens there? Do you know what I mean? What happens? Basically, a bunch of kids quit, or a bunch of kids think they've already made it, and so I don't need to go to Adam anymore. I don't need to go and do the. I've already made it. I'm varsity at JF, and they or they get distracted. They get a girlfriend, or they get their driver's license, or they get interested in something else, and all those things are fine. But yeah, what you'll find is, by the time you're a high school junior, you're a high school senior, Brady, you'll find that there's actually not very many of the kids you play with right now that are still playing. And yeah, you've got to find ways of constantly raising the bar. So a little bit like we talked about, okay, I'm the best player on my team. Maybe I've got to go find another team where I'm not the best player. Boom, okay, now I'm on that team. Can I be the best player on this team? Then maybe it's, man, our team's pretty good, but we're smoking everybody 5-6-0 every. Well, maybe I've got to go find. Maybe we've got to move to another club, or maybe our club's got to help us get into tougher competition. You've just constantly got to be pushing yourself to where you're uncomfortable. If you're comfortable at practice, you're not getting any better. You've constantly got to be like, man, I'm uncomfortable in this situation, and enjoy it. You know, you've got to really enjoy it. You've got to embrace failure, recognize that you're not always going to get it right. And when things don't go the way you want them to, you've got to pick yourself back up and go again. And yeah, just constantly persevere in that journey. And I've shared on different things. You know, when I was 15, I was probably the worst player on my team. I was good, but there was all these guys better than me. But somewhere along the way, they got distracted. Or somewhere along the way, they got comfortable. And I was the guy that kept pushing, and to the point where at 18, I get on an airplane and I fly 3,000 miles to the United States of America, to a place where I don't know anybody. I mean, you want to talk about being uncomfortable. But it was just in the pursuit of dreams, and just in the pursuit of goals, and just in the pursuit of what I wanted to be. And I'm thankful for my mum and dad and my family for supporting me and pushing me. I'm thankful for my coaches that believed in me and tried to get me opportunities and things like that. But much of it was me pushing it, you know, help me get better, help me get better, help me get better. And so I think that's how you've got to do it. And again, it's not the perfect answer because I didn't achieve it, right? I wanted to be a professional soccer player and I didn't achieve it, and that's okay. But look where I ended up. You know what I mean? What I got, I'm so thankful for. Yeah, but it just comes from that relentless pushing. But let me say this, I'll say this to you, and really I'm probably saying this to the parents. It's got to be the player pushing it. I think one thing I see from American parents in particular is the parents think they've got to drive the kid all the time. And my mum and dad never did that. And they couldn't have done it. I haven't achieved what I've achieved because my dad said you have to. I achieved what I have achieved because I loved soccer. It was never a job for me. I just loved the game. So when I went and worked extra, it wasn't because dad told me to. It's because I just wanted to get a ball and play soccer because it was my hobby, right? So I think with parents, it's like, listen, our job as parents is to facilitate the things that our kids love and hope that that remains a lifelong love for them. Hopefully that love turns into a passion, and hopefully within that passion they have talent. If you have that magical formula, great, your kid might achieve something. But if they don't have that, if they don't have all those pieces, that's okay. Our job is just to facilitate what they love doing. Listen, I've coached a lot of college kids that hated soccer. And when the final whistle blew on their last game as a senior, they never put their cleats on again because they had achieved that because their parents had pushed them to do it. And at 22, they never played the game again, and that's heartbreaking for me. So, you know, and for me, that's a wasted journey, right? You know, what do they actually get out of that journey? So yeah, you know, that's, I can't remember the original question now, Brady, I apologize, but I think that's the important thing. Achievement just comes from loving it, loving what you're doing. And yeah, as parents, it's our job just to facilitate what what our kids love.
Yeah.
And if they end up being good at it, that's a bonus. But if not, man, they're doing what they love, and that's really cool too. So.
Normally I pull stuff from this and I ask you questions, but I've just been so lost in this great advice. I guess, I don't know what it is, you just make it sound amazing. I guess it's just, you've played the game so long and you know so much about it. It's just amazing hearing you talk about how you spent your college career, your soccer career as a young kid going up to high school to middle school. It's amazing.
Cool. Well, I appreciate that, buddy. It's been a fun journey, and again, I hope it doesn't end anytime soon. It just changes a little bit, and but again, if I can help people along the way, that's great. And listen, Brady, there'll be a day where my phone stops ringing. There'll probably be a day where no one signs up for a Soccer Academy session and the Soccer Academy disappears, and that'll be fine. But until that day comes, all I want to do is help kids love the game as much as I love it. And if they can achieve some goals and some dreams along the way, that's brilliant too. So, but again, like I said earlier, kids like you make it super easy. And I appreciate you and appreciate the opportunity to come and chat a little bit. This has been really cool.
Thanks. And that will never happen. I'm going to come to you until I retire.
Good.
Thank you so much, Coach Adam, for coming on Coach's Corner and being the first guest on my show. To learn more about Adam Godwin, to learn about his academy, please visit www.adamgodwin.com. You can also find him on Instagram at AG Soccer Academy and Facebook. Just search Adam Godwin Soccer Academy. Remember to check out the show and all our other shows on our YouTube channel. Just search Keeper for a Cure. We also have a podcast version of our shows on Spotify and iTunes. Just search Keeper for a Cure. Remember to subscribe and like. Please visit www.keeperforacure.com to learn more about Keeper for a Cure and what we're doing. I'm Brady Krysiewicz, and tonight's episode features Adam Godwin. Thank you for tuning in to Coach's Corner.